We're on the record.
All right, Mr. Kurth, can you hear me?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. This is case D 446900, the Feindel matter. I can let everybody know, because this had so many hearings from 2011 through 2016, I absolutely recall this case by memory. Let me start with a couple things. This is on for mom's permission to relocate with minor child. There was opposition filed by dad. There was then a reply or two filed by mom, and then there was dad's quote response. So let me start with I absolutely disagree, Mr. Kurth, with your client's interpretation that that was a temporary agreement for all of these years, and the matter should just be set for a trial finding regarding that. If you look at the minutes of April 6th of 2016, the court specifically found that if dad was not compliant with the parent coordinator and mom continued to have physical custody for more than 146 days, the court would find that there had been a de facto change in custody. So at this point, I absolutely have every intent to make that finding. I don't know if you've read the entire history of the case, Mr. Kerr.
We lost volume, I think. I don't know.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I think it's muted. I can't hear anything.
Yeah, I can't hear you either, Judge.
Can you hear me, Madam Clerk?
Yes, I can.
We can hear now.
Yes, I can hear now.
I can
Thank
hear you now.
All right. Have you read the history of the case, Mr. Kerr?
I have, Judge, and I saw those minutes, and I saw where the court said they were going to, change that order. But my position is just with case law and with everything else that the court has to have an evidentiary hearing, go through all the findings, and this is basically just a punishment for not getting a parenting coordinator that was years ago or paying for one. I know there was more things built up to it, obviously, in that, you're...
Oh, there's a lot more. First of all, this was a decree that was entered back in November of 2012. So all the post stuff, that was post. So your client absolutely had the ability to initially do that. And I will let you know, if you've read through the minutes, it's replete with your client's non-compliance, not only with parenting coordinators. He didn't want to use the Our Family Wizard program. And apparently that's continuing to date because Ms. Feindel has to submit Gmail stuff because she indicates your client refuses to use the Our Family Wizard program. I am going to reiterate, especially given the current circumstances, that the parties are to enroll in the Our Family Wizard program within the next week, and that is to be the only means by which they are to communicate.
All right.
Additionally, I don't know how much, obviously these relocation cases with the statute are fairly in-depth. I usually set them for 2-day hearing, first of all, to see whether we get through the first phase, and then second day, go through the second phase of the statute. That being said, I don't know how much discovery time, or if any, that you're asking for, Mr. Kurtz.
We'd probably need, I'd have to meet with my client over that, Judge, but I'd probably want it, when are you looking at setting out hearings? How far out are you setting out hearings right now?
Well, let me also add, and this is on you, Ms. Feindel, because I realize it's tell you, I've had cases where people did at least 3 to 4 weekends from Reno. It wasn't, a great idea to be driving that much, but they absolutely did it so that they could maintain their custody status. And as long as the other party got their visitation, then he's not being prejudiced. So, to that extent, if you move in the interim, he's still going to be entitled to his every other weekend time.
Okay, that's absolutely something I can do, yes.
And again, he would not be being prejudiced by that, and I will let everybody know that, again, I will, that's without prejudice. No one's going to be benefited one way or the other. Mr. Cout, let me just also cut to the chase and see if this is a case that might be a case to send to FMC. It was brought up in his opposition schedule that if in fact her request was granted, and then he set forth a typical long distance visitation plan. So I don't know if your client's amenable to that. I don't want to waste everybody's time if not, but if that's something he's even going to consider, I could refer them to FMC.
It is something he would consider, Judge. I mean, but Mom or Miss Feindel? Mom, she put something in there that said absolutely not. She was not going to agree to that, like the proposed summer schedule. But I think it would be a good thing to send them to FMC and see if they could work it out.
Maybe Ms. Feindel needs to hear from me that that is absolutely a typical long distance out of state schedule.
I'm sorry, I've lost volume again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Were you speaking to me about that?
Yes, I'm letting you know that proposed schedule, and I'm sure Mr. Kirk knew that when he wrote that out. That is absolutely a standard schedule for this particular situation and given your child's age.
Okay.
So I would keep that in mind. If you're okay to go to mediation, I will refer the matter to mediation. Mr. Kirk, I don't know if you want to hold off on doing discovery to see if it works out at FMC first.
We would probably do that, Judge. I mean, one main concern, as far as if she decides to move or something, one thing we haven't seen, which we have to have more information on, it's just, which obviously will be argued at the hearing, is that it looks like maybe his company wants to expand or they think he's a good person for it, but there's just no specifics or details or, he still has his job here. That's kind of a main concern. It doesn't look like it's something that has to happen or they're being forced to do it or something like that. And I wouldn't, if they did move up there and they did every other weekend, I wouldn't want him to miss any time. So how she would be able to facilitate that so they're not meeting halfway or something like that. That's pretty.
But that's going to be on her. Whether I'm not going to order Mr. Feindel to drive halfway.
Okay.
He's got limited time anyway. So I'm being very clear to Ms. Feindel, whether it's by plane or whether she does driving both ways. That obligation for transportation is on her.
Okay. Very good.
So let me go ahead and make the referral. Let me go ahead and make the referral to FMC. Mr. Kurth can start his discovery, and then on the return, we'll see if they've reached an agreement, and then if not, how much more discovery time would be needed, and then we will set the trial again. Mr. Feindel is not being prejudiced in that I'm keeping the current schedule that's been in place for the last few years intact. So, Madam Clerk, we get a 60-day date.
We had a little bad
October 22nd at 2:30.
Can you chat that to me? I can't hear that for some reason.
Yeah, I haven't been able to hear that either. It's very broken up.
Madam Clerk, can you give another date? I believe Mr. Kerr said that won't work for him.
It won't. I'm sorry, I couldn't understand him. How about October 29th at 1:30?
Does that work for everybody, Mr. Kerr?
Sure, Judge. Is that evidence hearing date or status check? I'm sorry, nobody.
That's the status check return from FMC.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you.
All right, everybody have a safe day.
Judge,
Yes,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I really couldn't hear any of that. I got that there's an October 29th 1:30 status check at return from FMC. Is that correct?
Yes, we're referring to mediation to see if you guys can work it out at mediation because Mr. Feindel, and I, again, hope you understand that what his proposed schedule is a standard schedule, so maybe bring that with you.
Okay, yes, of course.
All right.
Now, I would like, could I just reiterate, because I want to make sure that I understand this. If we choose to move to Reno before the October 22nd, before the mediation, but we keep the every other weekend schedule, that is okay on my part?
That is okay only because he's keeping his schedule. I cannot guarantee you're going to prevail at trial. I would suggest strongly you consider retaining an attorney because these are the most difficult cases to prove.
Okay.
If you can't work it out,
If
that
we
is.
don't, if we cannot work it out at FMC. Okay, I understand. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
All right. Everybody stay safe and healthy, and we'll talk to you in October.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Your Honor.